people voting.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'll bet you're right. There's security issues, but just in a vacuum, is it a good idea? Assuming you could solve all those problems.
There's as much security issues as there's buying stock or doing your banking or paying your bills on time. They're all security issues there. But assuming that it was set up, that it was secure, what do you think the government would say about really having public involvement in elections by doing it electronically?
It depends on which party you're talking to and how many registered voters they have in that party. Well, you're going to get a different answer.
You could register online. You can register online.
Right.
And
I think it's a great idea.
And I suspect you would increase the ballot, the number of people casting their votes.
Yes.
And
then what do you do with exit polls? You're going to have NBC News showing up at your house saying, "How did you just vote?"
Exit polls will be done on YouTube.
That's possible. That's possible. But no, I think it's a good idea. I really do.
I think it's the wave of the future.
I think everything having to do with internet and computers. That's all. That is the future. Absolutely.
Well, the problem is, the 18-year-old, is he actually voting, or is he playing his video game?
Does he think he's really voting,
or
is he voting for a phantom?
Or does it matter? Or, what about the candidates? That would change their entire method of election.
I'm sure they'll spend more money. Got more voters to reach.
$161 million.
How did that happen?
I don't know. Just think what that would have done if we'd taken the money and divided it among the public schools in California. And
if every school got, how much money would that be?
I think it was $40,000, I heard.
Every public school would get $40,000 out of that $161 million?
I think that. I could be wrong on the numbers. But
and I'll bet every parent in that school would actively vote for whoever it was who gave that money.
Well, the PTA would sure like him.
The PTA would love him.
All the programs were cutting, supplies and music and art.
You may have
hit
on something. This may be the wave of the future, not just computers.
Well, it's apparent based on California's results that spending a lot of money, or rich people trying to buy the election, they can't. It hasn't happened.
I don't think that's unique to California. I think whenever we found somebody spending that kind of money, their own money, I think that there's a negative reaction from the public.
We're jealous.
Yeah, maybe that's
part of it. Spend it on me, not on them.
Yeah, maybe that's part of it.
1-800-405-4222.
Yes.
So what's happening with Lindsay Lohan,
she's hanging out with a bad crowd?
I saw
her parents?
I saw a recent quote. Deanna Lohan admits Lindsay is an addict.
No way. No way. She's the last person to know that.
Duh. I don't know what's happening.
That explains all those rehab sessions.
Well, you can tell how the economy is going in California. A lot of people out of jobs, which is really an important.
That's true.
Important situation. But what I saw was the true test that we're in a recession is that the people who go to all these spas for the hour treatment.
Yeah.
There's now the half-hour spa.
Oh, instead of an hour, you get a half an hour.
Get a half hour. For probably half the amount of money, too. So
I would think
everybody's got to cut back a little bit.
Of course. It would have to be.
And so when you go in for your facial, you just ask for the half-hour one.
Left side or right side? Below the nostrils or above the nostrils? There are all kinds of ramifications.
So
I got a question for you. We have someone who was complaining about a supervisor on her Facebook page, and she gets fired. Now what? Is she protected? Does she have First Amendment rights?
Well, I don't know the answer to that.
I do.
If it's defamatory, she has no rights.
No, she's just complaining about a supervisor. But she posted the criticism of her supervisor on her Facebook page. And remember a few minutes ago we were talking about the NLRB, the National Labor Relations Act says, and it's Leif Solomon, no relation to you, probably not as wise, but nevertheless, Leif Solomon, the board's acting general counsel, said, this is a fairly straightforward case. I'm reading from the New York Times. Under the NLRA, the Relations Act, whether it takes place on Facebook or at the water cooler, it was employees talking jointly about working conditions, in this case about their supervisor, and they have a right to do that. So this terminated person is getting their job back.
Well, we said First Amendment, I think. We have a First Amendment right to speak out. But how about if you put on the Facebook that my supervisor is a dirty slut? Do you think that would be
I got a question for you now.
Yeah.
A preliminary question. Is that true?
Well, I think
not that you say it's true.
I think she is.
No, is it factually accurate?
I think she is.
No, not what you think. Is it factually accurate?
I don't know. Does it matter?
Yeah.
Isn't that insubordination?
Truth is a defense.
Well, not in an insubordination situation. Ralph Saltzman
is
a dirty...
a really nice fellow. That may not be true.
Well, electronics is changing everything.
Yeah. The conversation at the water cooler is something that may go unnoticed. But anything you put out on a computer, email, Twitter, Facebook, a lot of these are intentionally to the entire world. But whatever you put on a computer, even if you intend it to be a private communication by email, you got to assume that everybody on the entire planet who has access to a computer or is a friend of somebody with a computer is going to see it.
And I think more on the legal end of it is that we use all these things now for purposes of checking witnesses out. When people come in for employment, we put them through Facebook and these other social media guides to see, if there's 17 pictures of them drunk or doing things that probably is not in the right image for the job or position they're applying for, or if they're applying to a college, I wonder how many admissions officers check this out.
I'll bet a lot do now. You're absolutely right.
So you just have to be very careful. And I don't know why anybody would want to put some of this stuff out there, but there's a whole social thing going on, I guess.
There is.
I mean, we know...
It's a planet that didn't exist a couple of years ago.
I can tell you, at least among the social group of my son, that when somebody's status changes from going with somebody to being single, it's out instantaneously, and 500 kids know this.
Yeah. You used to hear it from through the grapevine.
Yeah, now you
hear it. Now you hear it on the internet, and it's instantaneous. At least the grapevine took a couple of days.
And what about the situation with the internet now, where someone in New York solicits for someone to buy products in California, and I buy a product and it's defective? Can I sue them in California, or do I have to go all the way back to New York? Because when they came out to California soliciting me by the internet, they were doing business in California.
Yeah.
And don't you agree, when you're doing business in California, to be subject to the suits in California?
Well, long before the internet existed, and long before the internet was a source of business transactions, doing business in California gave the state of California jurisdiction over that company, so that company could be sued in California. And now, is just internet sales sufficient? Sufficient connection?
That's pretty good doing business when they're getting the money
it's
here.
It's a very effective way of doing business.
Getting the money here in California, solicitations coming here in California.
Yep.
So not only is it social, but it creates lawsuit problems. We ought to do a whole show
just on that. It would be fascinating.
And then there's the whole problems of, quote, the video games on the internet, and whether or not someone who watches the video games gets all jazzed up and goes out and kills you, whether or not you can sue me or my family.
Yeah, that's something that's been discussed and is in discussion. You know, we got to go. We seem to be winding up in our conversation about the internet. We're going to talk about that next time. Call us at 1-800-405-4222. We're on every Wednesday at 4 o'clock right here on City TV Channel 16 in Santa Monica, LA 36. Stephen, that was fun.
Oh, yeah.
Catch you later.
I'm not gonna, that shake hands does not mean I surrendered, but
we'll see you all next week.